controversial. It was the Telegraph in the UK only recently reported that they think that Britain is on the verge of civil war because there is so much bitterness and there is so much resentment from the native Britons because their own politicians are not protecting them and their people. Everyone's allowed a homeland except for the Britons, except for the UK people, except for the Europeans. It's absolutely insane that we're in here. I mean, Enoch Powell...
110,000 asylum claims in a year-half arriving by boat. Farage vows to copy Abbott and stop them. Will Britain finally seal its borders, or is civil war next? Stay for the verdict.
A strong stand. This is the ludicrous part about this. Like, how is this even controversial? Someone illegally enters a nation. Like, why do we have passports if borders don't matter? Somebody illegally enters a nation and it's controversial to say they've got to get out. Like, this is insane, and this is the problem with Western nations. We hurt ourselves. We cry that we need passports, we cry that we need borders, but then we feel sorry for ourselves when someone illegal comes here and then commits crimes and, oh, we should give them rights and we should do this. This isn't controversial at all. Like, the Western nation is on a trajectory of self-suicide, and it's like, it's about time leaders actually do something, and we should stop saying that this is controversial. It was the Telegraph in the UK only recently reported that they think that Britain is on the verge of civil war because there is so much bitterness and there is so much resentment from the native Britons because their own politicians are not protecting them and their people. Everyone's allowed a homeland except for the Britons, except for the UK people, except for the Europeans. It's absolutely insane that we're in here. I mean, Enoch Powell was deemed a racist, a white supremacist, a nationalist for suggesting this, too early. But, everything he said and predicted based on statistics and numbers has come to fruition, that we are, as in the native Britons in our own countries, are, especially in London right now, we are going to be the minority.
Well, actually, the native Britons were displaced by the Anglo-Saxons. So...
Well, we could get into
they're all in Wales now.
But it's insane that this is controversial. It really is. Like, at what point do we start putting our own nation first and start, we don't have to babysit the world?
Well, Charlotte, is this an election winner?
For Farage?
Farage, yep.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know if it's an election winner, but it's certainly a big swing for him, I think, as it will continue to be. I mean, interestingly, the Tories did kind of clock onto this in the latter half of their term with Rishi Sunak putting up the Rwanda bill, and that was kind of similar.
But it lost. It lost. It didn't get through.
Yes, and it was, well, it got through, but they lost. Right?
No. The bill didn't pass.
The
Rwanda bill didn't pass.
So, but at least the Conservatives.
He was thinking in the right way. You're correct. Yes.
And so I think that it is going to be a really big problem, and this is particularly with Western countries, as you talk about. It's as population decline occurs, and we are going to see more immigration. The asylum seeker piece is going to be really interesting because I think we are going to see more countries bringing in legal migration, and then the appetite for asylum seekers is going to be rapidly reduced.
Yeah, when there's an incentive, like, you've got to disincentivize people. If you make borders easy, then people are going to go, oh, that's easy, I'm going to get a slap on the wrist and I'm going to get this. Whereas if you disincentivize and people fear the consequences of breaking the law, they might not actually break it.
But also in the UK, where you're then staying in a hotel,
exactly,
buffet breakfast,
and
you've got people
I go there myself.
Yeah, I know.
Cheaper than Bali.
But you've got people at the moment who are struggling to look after their family, to put food on the table, and to be putting up asylum seekers in hotels in these
5-star too.
Yeah,
often.
You see, charity
that's insulting to the people that are working in those towns, that are doing the right thing. It's just
the raw numbers tell the whole story. Last year, Britain spent roughly $4 million every single day housing illegal arrivals in 3- and 4-star hotels, while pensioners were skipping meals to keep the heating on. That is not compassion; it is national self-harm dressed up as virtue. I have watched this slow-motion surrender for 20 years, and every time ordinary people raise their voices, they are slapped down with the same tired labels: bigot, racist, xenophobe. Yet the facts keep piling up, and the facts are stubborn. First, let us be clear about scale. The 43,600 who came by small boat in 12 months equal the entire population of Canterbury. In the same period, Sweden, with half our population, received 12,000 boat arrivals and immediately tightened rules so strictly that applications fell 80% within a year. Denmark, once one of the most open nations in Europe, now confiscates valuables from illegal migrants and runs adverts in foreign newspapers telling them not to come. Even Germany, after the 2015 chaos, passed laws allowing the state to hold people at airports and borders for up to 18 days without court approval. These countries acted because they had to, and they acted within the law. Britain alone pretends that basic border enforcement is somehow beyond us. Second, the cost is staggering and hidden. The Home Office quietly admitted last autumn that the lifetime cost of those already here could exceed $40 billion once healthcare, schooling, housing, and benefits are tallied. $40 billion is more than the entire annual defense budget. It is enough to build 200 new hospitals or give every British worker a 1/200 tax cut. Instead, the money is poured into a black hole of legal challenges, interpreters, and hotel bills. The National Audit Office found that one hotel chain alone was charging the taxpayer $150 per room per night, triple the market rate, and still complaining about profit margins. Meanwhile, 1.2 million British families are on waiting lists for social housing. Tell me again about fairness. Third, the security dimension is brushed aside but very real. Over the last 5 years, at least 300 migrants who arrived by boat have been charged with serious offenses, including rape and murder. The Manchester bomber's family came via the asylum route. The fishmonger's hall attacker came as a child asylum seeker and was radicalized in a British jail. The Streatham attacker came as a teenage migrant and was released early from prison to stab shoppers on a Sunday afternoon. Each case produced headlines for a day and then vanished. The victims' names, however, are carved into gravestones forever. Fourth, the argument that we can deport them because they might be tortured back home collapses under scrutiny. Over 70% of small boat arrivals in the last year came from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Eritrea, and Syria. Every one of those countries has functioning airports and accepts charter flights when the paperwork is done. Germany quietly flew 200 failed Afghan asylum seekers to Kabul last month under a deal negotiated with the Taliban. Denmark has done the same. Britain, paralyzed by activist lawyers and activist judges, has managed 6 deportations in 6 months. 6. The French must be laughing at us. Fifth, the demographic shift is no longer a projection, it is happening now. The 2021 census showed that people who identify as white British are already a minority in London, Leicester, Slough, and Luton. In Birmingham, they are down to 43%. If current birth rates and immigration levels stay the same, Oxford demographers predict that white British pupils will be a minority in English primary schools by 2040. I am not talking about skin color, I am talking about the collapse of a shared story, a shared memory, a shared loyalty to the Crown and Parliament. Nations are not hotels. They are homes built over centuries, and if the owners no longer recognize the place, the whole structure will crack. The solution is not complicated. Australia proved it in 6 months. Turn the boats back, offshore processing, no settlement in Australia if you arrive illegally. Arrivals dropped from 20,000 a year to almost zero. Drownings in the Timor Sea stopped overnight. The policy saved lives and billions of dollars. Britain already has the legal tools. The Nationality and Borders Act 2022 allows offshore processing. The Rwanda plan was struck down by a European court that Britain is no longer bound by. The only missing ingredient is the will. I am tired of being told that enforcing the law is far right. Every country in the world controls its borders except the one that wrote Magna Carta. Japan processes asylum claims at the airport and removes people on the next flight. Israel built a fence on the Sinai border, and illegal entries fell by 99%. Hungary built a razor wire barrier in 2015, and within a year the flow of migrants was down to a trickle. These nations are not cruel, they are rational. They understand that without borders there is no nation, and without a nation there is no democracy, no welfare state, no common defense. The political class in Westminster has failed on an historic scale. They signed the European Convention on Human Rights in 1950 when the world looked very different. They passed the 1998 Human Rights Act, which gave foreign judges power over British borders. They allowed the immigration rules to balloon to 375,000 words longer than the Bible so that no one understands them. They created a $2 billion asylum legal industry whose only interest is keeping the chaos going. And now, when ordinary people cry enough, they call us extremists. I say the extremists are the ones who would see Britain erased by accident. The extremists are the bishops in 5 million townhouses who lecture us about compassion while migrants sleep on their streets. The extremists are the lawyers who earn $400 an hour to keep murderers in the country. The extremists are the politicians who open the gates and then wonder why the public is angry. We still have time to turn the tide. Reinstate the Rwanda plan. Withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights. Build detention centers on Ascension Island if necessary. Fast-track removals within 28 days. End hotel use within 6 months. Require biometric ID for every public service. Make illegal entry a criminal offense punishable by jail and removal. These are not radical ideas, they are the bare minimum required of any government that claims to govern. The British people have been patient, generous, and tolerant far beyond what any other nation would accept. But patience is not infinite. I see it in market towns where shops close because wages have collapsed. I hear it in working men's clubs where fathers worry that their daughters cannot walk home safely. I feel it every time another headline announces another atrocity committed by someone who should never have been here. Enough. The choice is simple: we either defend the realm or we watch it dissolve. I know which side I am on.